to this week's episode of Here We Journey with Pastor Greg. I'm trying something a little bit different this week, and it will probably be something that continues in the coming weeks, and that's that I am recording this as a video, and then I will remove the sound um, track and post it on all the podcast platforms, but I'm also uploading the video to YouTube. I know there's a few people that maybe are a little bit more used to using YouTube to find me and find my videos, so we're going to give this a shot and see what happens, how it works out. So for those that are seeing this on YouTube, this is the 8th episode of Here We Journey with Pastor Greg. The other ones were purely available through audio platforms like Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, all those standard sites that you find podcasts at. This week we're going to talk a little bit about where I'm at in my journey. What's going on in my life and what's going on related to my call to be a called and ordained minister of the Church of Christ, the Lutheran edition. I am an ELCA pastor for those that are unaware of that. My wife and I and our family moved cross country beginning of December, really the end of November time frame. We moved to the Southwest from the East Coast, knowing that it was going to take some time for us both, because my wife is also a pastor, for us both to have a call. And I'm still in that holding pattern. My wife has a great congregation. I'm very happy for her and what she's able to do there. And I look forward to seeing the type of ministry she's able to do long term. And I am, once again, honored to be a pastoral spouse. I spent 10 years doing that before becoming ordained myself. So, as I moved out here, we knew I was going to do the stay at home dad thing to help with the transition for the 3 kids. We're starting to get into a routine. We're starting to kind of live into our new reality, our new context. I've been working on things like this podcast. I'm going to start working on really uploading probably some more videos to YouTube, as well as some of my art related projects that I've done, resin art, other forms of art that I like to spend my time on. This coming August, our middle child starts full-time school, entering into kindergarten, so my 2 oldest kids will be in school full-time. The baby will still be with me, and that will free up more time. More time that, yes, I will devote to some items around the house, but I'm also getting a little antsy. This is my 3rd time doing the stay-at-home dad thing, and I think I do an okay job at it. And yet, this time around is a little bit different. This time I 3 kids. That's a big difference. But I'm already starting to feel antsy. I want to be living into the call that I ran from for 10 years before going to seminary. I want to live into the call to preach and teach and administer the sacraments. And ultimately, I really want to live into engaging the community. So I had a meeting with the local bishop, the synodical bishop, and basically in not as many words, was told it's going to be a while before there's a full-time call open specifically close to you, because I'm fairly restricted with my geography. I want to be doing ministry in the same city as my wife. I don't want to be driving 2 hours one direction. So it's going to be a minute. And as part of that conversation with the bishop, she asked me what my ideal ministry context or congregation would be. And it's a thought that's been kind of rattling in the back of my head. I remember I responded with basically, I want to serve in a location that understands that what happens in the four walls of a church is not the beginning nor the end of ministry. That ministry happens far more often outside of those walls. And I think the institutional church started to get that sense through the pandemic. But many are retreating back into the same old, same old. I want a congregation, ministry site, ministry context that is engaged in life, in the community, in their context, and will take stands publicly about injustice and being engaged in even that aspect of our lives together. That would be my ideal ministry context. There's not a lot of those. I also, if you've known me for any amount of time as a pastor, I happen to lean a little bit more on the progressive side of things. And I live in a more conservative part of the country again. So it's going to be a minute. So I've been daydreaming, I've been pondering, I've been praying, I've been thinking, I've been talking with some of my friends. And I'm kind of excited because there is something that I am working on that could be a great ministry site for myself. Now, I want to periodically give you guys updates about where this journey stands. I am very much in the very initial phases of looking at this. I'm not going to give a ton of details, but I want you to know that even once I present this to the bishop and the synod, whether it gets approved or not, what's exciting is going through this process. What is exciting is the potential that this could result in something. If it doesn't, will I be a little heartbroken? Yeah. If it doesn't, I also understand, right? The church, the institutional church, and many congregations are at a point where they're having to be very specific with what they devote time and money and effort to right now. And right now, the synod I'm in may not see that this ministry opportunity would be a good fit. And that's okay. They know the synod better than I do. For all I know, it's possible they tried something similar and for whatever reason it didn't work. Or they've had conversations and it doesn't seem feasible. So there's a lot of things at play that could mean this doesn't work out. But like I have said on other episodes of this podcast, sometimes it's just the journey itself that we need to appreciate. Yeah, we should start off with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey talks about, and work towards that, but also enjoy, engage the process, the journey, even with the ups and the down and the hardships. So right now, what I'm doing is I'm looking at government data. government numbers, looking at things like how many grocery stores are in the community, how many farmers markets, how many people in the geographical area that I live in would have low access to a large grocery store or supermarket. Talking about unemployment rate and median and mean household incomes and percentage of people with income below poverty and percentage of people experiencing food and all these data points. So I'm already learning a lot more about my surroundings. So that if and when I enter back into a congregation in the local area, I'll know this stuff and I'll have an idea of, okay, these are some of the talents that the congregation has, and this is how it can match it up. So it's in many ways a win-win. Now, what's really exciting is if this specific ministry opportunity to establish this new ministry site works out, it also means that I'll be working with one of my dear friends from seminary, the godmother of my youngest child, one of the godmothers, someone I think the world of and think is doing amazing work within the church and helping spread God's love for all people. So I'm excited about that too, right? We've often, even in seminary, talked about how fun it would kind of be to do ministry together or serve the same congregation. I don't know if that will happen or not, but it's a fun idea. What happens next? So this coming week, I'm really going to try to focus on compiling kind of a initial plan, compiling the data that I have, mapping out a little bit of a timeline maybe for how I see this possibly working, identify some partners in the area that I could work with or at least have a relationship with. So there's some things coming. And again, this could all be for naught, and that's okay. I think that's the message of tonight's podcast is sometimes the end results aren't what we expect or want, but that doesn't mean the journey is not worth it. You're still picking up skills and understanding and knowledge and experience that you didn't have, or you're sharpening those things for the next journey that you're going to be on professionally, personally, and we need to live into that. We need to understand that when we're on these kind of exciting journeys that we hope turn out one way, we should recognize that there's a possibility that it won't, and that's okay. That's okay. I won't get into all the stories and quotes about how many times you have to fail before you succeed in business. You can look those up. I know if you're like me, sometimes those quotes you'll hear them and yeah, okay, that's true, but, and you'll rattle off all these other reasons. For me, I do that sometimes. And I'm really trying not to get caught up in being too focused at the end result right now, at least, and just enjoying the ride. And I trust, I'm one of those people that when people say, well, especially in seminary, they would tell us, trust the process. Trust the process. It's the process for the reason. That was the worst thing to hear. I hated hearing that. And yet, there is a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of truth to take a breath and enjoy the process. So that is one of the kind of big things we're working on. I'm working on. I'm hoping in the next couple weeks to be able to resume my art making. Uh, excuse me, my art making practice. I am also going to start working on some things around the house. Right, like one of the big things my family is working on is recommitting to healthier eating, recommitting to some of the practices that we've had in the past, and that often fall to the wayside. I will admit, when it comes to food, I love food. I also, even though I know it's really bad for me, it's unhealthy, and some will say it's not real food, I love fast food. I do. And I have a tendency, if I get stuck in a routine or a rut or a cycle of eating way too much fast food. So we're going to work on that. We're going to work on adding some more types of foods to our diet and cutting down some more on the sugars and the processed stuff. This is, for me personally, part of my process of returning to running. I'm not going for a full marathon anytime soon, but I'm going for a half marathon soon. Next year, 2023, about a year from now, looks like I will be doing my 8th half marathon. So I need to start going down that journey again. I'm a little bit nervous about that because I am the heaviest I have ever been. I'm dealing with a few additional aches and pains than I did previously, and I have 3 kids. I'm older than I was when I did my 7th half marathon. So you'll get some updates about that. You'll get some updates about what's going on with this ministry site possibility. I'll probably talk some about the eating updates. So I want to give you this, and it's going to be a short episode this week, or shorter, because I want to give you those updates. So those are going to be some things that you hear coming up. I am excited about some other things I have coming up for this podcast and developing it and really starting to figure out the format. So I appreciate everyone that's been with me since the beginning. We're 9 episodes in, so thank you. Again, if you are close to me and you have an idea, let me know. Reach out to me. I'd love to talk about it. Love to maybe even have you come on and talk about some of these topics. So we're halfway through this season of Here We Journey, and we're journeying. We're continuing the process. I appreciate you. I appreciate everything you do and all that you give to this world. You are valued. You are appreciated. You make this world a better place simply by being in it. You are worthy. You are worth it. Go out and know that you are loved. Be well, my friends. I'll talk to you next week.